Today, I'm so honored to bring Mike Carpino on. From door knocking his first 12 months in the business, making 12,000 GCI total in that time, to absolutely exploding his YouTube channel and getting so much from that 10 years later. And the secret is he's scaling his time with his family. He's a great father, husband, and doing all the things in Toronto, Canada to make a legacy for himself. If you're interested in learning from both Mike and I, we are able to co-sponsor together to be your resources in Carbon Collective and in the Wolfpack. So go to reagentwolfpack.com, mention Mike's name, and we'll make sure that we all get connected so you get absolute value from both of your sponsors. And I can't wait to chat with you and show you exactly what Mike is doing to not only build his business, but his legacy. So let's go. What is up? As mentioned, we have Mike Carpino, a new addition to the Wolfpack and a founding member in the Carbon Collective. Super excited to dive into Mike's journey. He is an agent up in Toronto. Mike, welcome to the show. How you doing today? And tell us a little bit about, your early roots with real estate.
I'm good, Jeremy. Thanks for having me on, man. Real estate early on was one of those things that I was told not to do. My father actually was in real estate, still is in real estate, and told me when I even mentioned it, don't do it. You're not gonna want to get into the same career path. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of struggle. It can also have a lot of strain on a family as well if you're not kind of handling it properly. And of course, as we do, we don't necessarily listen to the advice we're given from our parents or from our elders. And I dove into real estate head first. I was making six figures in sales, selling fitness equipment to gyms and homes, and wasn't really fulfilled. I enjoyed the sales part of it, and I figured there's got to be something I can enjoy doing a little bit more that has some more people aspect to it. I can help somebody buy a treadmill, but I can't make them use it, and it's not something that's changing their life guaranteed. But a house, somebody who's buying a house is putting roots down, building a family there, and it's something that's a lot more satisfying to actually help somebody with. Yeah. So I dove in my first year, and I was told to go door knock, drop flyers, do all the traditional things. This was 10 years ago now, and I knocked on doors for 6 to 7 hours a day in all of the warm months we have here in Toronto. And in the colder months, I slacked off a little bit. But needless to say, for all of my efforts and all of the flyers and all of the slam doors in my face, I walked away with about $12,000 at the end of the year. So I could have done about any other job and made more money. And of course, somebody's advice could have been very well taken if I listened to it, of not getting into real estate because it's difficult. But I'm not the type of person to actually give up when there is a challenge. And year two, I rolled into about 180K GCI compared to my first year of 12K. So the efforts ended up coming back and repaying themselves, but also the adaptation of my business and what I was focusing on is massive as well, because I stopped doing the door knocking. I stopped doing the things that weren't working because I put enough time into them to know it wasn't for me, at least in my area and with my personality. I needed to focus on my sphere and talking to people that I already had a previous relationship with.
Right. And I think that that's kind of the key to success is getting in, right? Obviously, I had my dad. He was much more of a support bringing me into real estate since I worked with him. But, ultimately, one of the things I respect about you is just your ability to go do it, right? So early on, what was kind of the biggest struggle? Why wasn't door knocking working? Was it just because you weren't in your element, or was it too young, you weren't experienced? What do you think was the biggest struggle? And I can't do the math, but that's 15x at least. What was the biggest objection you were facing at that time?
Hindsight is 2020. Of course, 10 years in, I understand that there's a certain way to do things, a different method behind it. Maybe my approach wasn't perfect. I was more of the, let's just go knock on doors, try to have conversations, but I didn't have the game plan or the strategy behind it. And a lot of that is because I didn't really have, although my father is in real estate, I didn't have a mentor that was producing at a high level, didn't have much guidance. So I was just trying to figure it out myself. That's really what it came down to.
Prove him wrong, right? Prove Dad wrong one more time.
Prove Dad wrong. And there was no ChatGPT. There was no AI. I didn't have a coach or anything like that was giving me a little bit more guidance and a little bit more structure to my approach at the door, to the conversation I was trying to have. So for me, I think ultimately it could have been a combination of maybe I was going in too hard, too quick. I did have the objection of, you're like a mid 20 something young guy. Do you even own a house? Right. So having that guy walk up to your door, and at most times I'm still wearing a suit in midsummer, sweating through the darn thing, trying to look professional. Maybe that's not what the heck is this guy doing over here? Right. So I think it was a combination of a bunch of different things, along with it probably wasn't the right fit for me. At the end of the day, that's what I think it comes down to most. It wasn't the mode of me doing business that I was confident in or comfortable doing, as much as I would have liked to say.
And it was a volume play, right? You were just going, it's very much sales driven, like, bang the phones, bang the doors, whatever you want to call it. And so I think that that's incredible. But now that you've been in 10 years, I want to look back and be like, okay, like, why didn't you give up, right? We know the statistic that 80% of real estate agents fail in their first, 2 years or whatever, and the number just kind of climbs. But what was it about your choices that you made after that, you were willing to knock on doors for 12 months for 12 grand? And, tell me a little bit about that path, because I know as you move forward, you've seeked that coaching and that guidance multiple times with multiple different big names. So talk about that desire to keep going.
For me, once anybody gets to know me, if you give me something to do, it will get done. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's telling me to do something like a 75 hard or setting a specific goal for anything, I will do it, whether or not it gets done in that quick time frame or it takes me a little bit longer. And I'm finding that now my main source of business is coming through YouTube. And that was very similar to the door knocking early on. It was just make videos with no structure and no guidance until I took on some coaching and I had that clarity to go head forward into something with a game plan. And then 2.5 years later on the YouTube platform, I just had 3 deals in 3 weeks. So I'm seeing a lot more consistency because my efforts are never going to struggle. It's a personality thing for me. I'm just going to get it done. I will be that person who does it for myself and for ultimately my family now. Now that I have kids, now that I've got a wife, that's it. I'm going to provide no matter what the stakes are. And if that means getting through some of the dirt and just grinding a little bit harder at some things, or paying for coaching and establishing myself a little bit more in certain areas that I wasn't focusing on early on, it's important for me to just keep going in the direction I want to go and not giving up.
Right. So that hard work consistently, became something. You were kind of flexing, you were kind of doing different things. Who was the first coach you hired, and at what point was that in your career?
It was year 4 to year 5 transition, and I got into coaching with Tom Ferry. And I had some systems in year 4. I wasn't what I would say a very system-driven agent. I was very much of try to figure it out, every deal, flying by the seat of my pants, as they would say. And that was why I decided to get into coaching. I wanted more system, more structure. And of course, along with the coaching comes a big price tag. So you imagine that you're paying $20,000 for a year of coaching in Canada. Our dollar doesn't go as far. And I ultimately did not see, I don't think even $2,000 return on my investment with a coaching company like that. Not necessarily because what they're teaching didn't work, but it was not a structure that worked for me. I was looking for video. I was looking for more support on that end. And the coaches that I was at least provided with were not really educated in those fields. They were bringing me back to my year 1. How many calls did you make? How many doors did you knock on? What were your numbers for this past week? And that really wasn't where my business was and not where I wanted to take it in the future. So ultimately, after year 1, that was enough with the Tom Ferry coaching, and I moved on to other avenues of coaching.
Right. I think that's where you met Kyle Mark, right?
That's where I met Kyle Mark. That's where I met a few people.
That'll make some sense here in a second, but absolutely, key. And I was Buffini trained. So Tom Ferry and Brian Buffini, very different.
Very, yeah.
But the same, right? They're very classic. They're very, script driven. They're, so on. And then we have this new age, right? Everybody's video and social media and things like that. And those guys didn't have to build their businesses in that realm. It was very much traditional real estate coaching. And as we've, adjusted, there's the video, there's the social media and so on. And, as we dive into your YouTube story, we'll talk a little bit more about that coaching, but I want to talk about the balance, right? Because as a young buck doing the real estate thing, the door knocking, the, going hard in your business, you say now that balance is a massive part of your core message. So what broke first? And was it just like, okay, I'm married now, like we're going to start a family, like an easy transition, or what was that transition like?
I think I'm probably going to be in an always a transitional state, because I'm always trying to figure out what that balance is for that specific time that I'm in, where my kids are at, where my family's at, because I truly don't believe there's a 50-50 balance in real estate and family. I think that it really comes down to doing what's needed in the certain time or the certain season. So for me right now, I've got two young kids. I've got one who's 4 in his first year of school, one who's 3, she'll be in school next year. And I'm thinking to myself, this is the priority. It is spending as much time with the kids as possible. And while they're at school, while they're at daycare, getting as much work done and taking care of business as possible. But when that bell rings and it's pickup time, that's family time for me. When they're home with me until bedtime, that's it. I'll answer a call if I have some burning deal that's got to get handled, but I'm spending as much time with my family as I can until they get to that age where, maybe they don't want to hang out with dad all the time. And I get that. Right. But there's a big thing is our business, you've got to ebb and flow where your family takes you as well as where you want your business to go. And when your kids are in school, ultimately, my business is going to end up coming from the other kids that they're hanging out with, parents. It's going to come with all of that, right? So that's a big, important thing for me as well.
Yeah, that's huge. And obviously having the ability to transition, right? Because obviously you don't even have the time in your day now to go pound on doors 8 hours a day, even if you wanted to.
Not a chance.
So you often say like building a business that calls you is kind of what you're going. You kind of went down that road as far as adjusting and you're always in transition. But what does that mean to you, to your family, to your core? And how do you see that, changing in the future as the kids do get into the high school and the teenage years? I mean, are you at a position where your business is great, it's kind of on the steady up and up, or what do you think that will be like, as the business calls you in different ways?
Well, yeah, when I'm thinking about the business calling me, that's really where that YouTube foundation has really started to come in. I am finding that the calls I'm getting through social media and through YouTube are the best type of lead that I've seen come in through any other type of lead gen, whether it's paid ads, anything like that. They're basically coming in like a family member or a friend. They're not coming in asking for a deal. They're coming in, calling me because they've spent hours watching me on YouTube. And that's a beautiful thing. YouTube is always out there. People can click on it at 1 a.m. if they're awake, or any time of day. Really, there's no restrictions for them. So it's constantly prospecting for us. And I think I will just continue to double down on the YouTube platform until the YouTube platform is not the platform to be making video on. And there's another platform in the future if that does come. But I will just keep making the video because I can make a video a day if I have the extra time, if not more, and just keep having an ever evolving library for everybody out there.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about your time commitment to your YouTube, because you essentially went from the physical activity of door knocking, 7 to 8 hours early on to, door knocking 24/7, as you mentioned, 1 a.m., those kind of things. So what goes into, obviously, as you started, you found a coach, and talk to me a little bit about that. And then let's talk about your process a little bit.
Yeah, so I started early on with YouTube, and it was very much trying to see what was working for other people. But I realized after about a year of testing certain types of videos that my market is not the most desirable right now for people to relocate to. It's not one of those make a relocation video, do a home tour video, and people are going to be calling me. So I had to figure out what was actually going to attract people on YouTube to actually do business in my area, because the other stuff wasn't working. And what I found is it's actually the local news and the market updates. Everybody who's done deals with me through YouTube, they've been very, very analytical. They love looking at the data and kind of diving into the different nuances that I'll pull up. So I think YouTube is bringing in a really high quality lead on my end. They're not the home tour, they're not the relocation, but they are the analytical person who works at a bank, or they're working a very, very high end job. And they are really impressed with the data analytics side of things of the market.
Yeah, that's wild. That's Canada thing, right? We have another guy in Calgary that does a ton of that. So you're not doing home tours, you're not doing anything like that. So talk to me about your process, how you're creating videos. You know, what's your key? I guess what's your buckets? What are your pillar buckets? Is it just market statistical kind of data, or what's your YouTube channel look like?
Right now, my YouTube channel, it's got 3 or 4 different buckets. We've kind of transitioned around as time's gone on with what actually works and what doesn't. But the whole key that I've learned through my coach Nolan with YouTube is having buckets that can lead people to the video you want them to watch. So for example, we'll have a news piece that I'll do, and nobody's going to watch a news article and call me, but that news video will lead them to another video that might give them a little bit more clarity on the market, maybe an affordability video, what you can afford for $400,000 or $600,000. And then that video will lead them to either a home buyer or a home seller guide video where I break down in depth what that process looks like. So when I make the videos, I'm really thinking about, okay, which kind of funnel am I going to send the viewer down? And then I'm constantly building that out a little bit further and having different pillar videos at the back end. So the market update videos that people love will filter down into a buyer or a seller video that's pretty beefy, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, that gives them a lot of context. So their next call is, we got what we need. We want to work with you to buy or sell our home.
Okay. So you're using the cards at the end? Are you using pop-up cards? Are you using end screens? What are you doing to drive people from that video to the next? Or is it just on-screen call to actions?
So there's several different ways. You can do of course, at the end of your video, if you want to check out this Brampton update right here on the latest market stats, click this video. That's the traditional way to do it. But the problem is you're going to find 20% of people maybe make it to the end of a video. So you're losing out on the other 80% of the viewer. So you want to have the opportunity for them to move down your funnel at different points. So you can pop up a card somewhere in your average view retention in that 3 to 4 or 5 minute range for a video that you might want them to click on next. But you can also put it in the description of the video. That's the best way to do it, is to put the next video you want them to watch there, because maybe they got what they needed in the first little while, but they see that as they're watching the one video just under the actual timer and in the pinned comment. So there's different ways and different spots you can actually put those videos in there to be helpful to get them to stay on the platform.
Okay, perfect. So that's something that's a little bit different, right, than your traditional YouTube coach would kind of guide you. You have 3 different options. It's not necessarily one is better than the other, but then you're looking at your analytics and so on. So as we go back, what does your process for creating a video look like? I know you utilize AI in some ways. So when you're creating a news story, is that something you just get up quickly and, something happens and you're going to be in the office recording that video? Or kind of what's your structure look like as far as producing these videos?
So I've got a couple different ways, and I do have kind of a way that I'm going to make videos every single month. I know in the beginning of my month, my market stats are there. So I have 2 or 3 market stat videos that I know I'll be making in the first week of the month there. But if it's a news piece, I like to get on top of those in the first 24 to 48 hours to be one of the first couple people to post a video about it. And in that case, I'm making that video on the fly, posting it right away and getting ready to go. if it's something that is going to be evergreen, let's say it's a pros and cons of a certain area, an affordability video, anything like that that can be posted at any time and it's not specific to a month, a date, and a year, those I like to batch in at least 2 to 4 video kind of bucket myself. I'll create all my scripts, or at least a framework for the script, on ChatGPT. And then I will also bring it into other AIs to kind of get a little bit of clarity on, okay, some of these points are a little bit too fluffy. Let's get them a little bit more detailed. And then I'll bring them into a Google Doc from there, organize things the way I like, and then I'll just throw them on the teleprompter and record either the same day or another day that week on my schedule, the same 3 to 4 videos that I've recorded there.
Okay. So then you're doing that. As far as the news sources and things like that, are you just watching the news, scrolling the feeds and finding stuff, or do you have a process as to finding things that, will hit within your audience?
So there's 2 ways for me that I use it mostly. One is hopping online, whether it's ChatGPT, Google, looking at the most recent real estate news or something that's at least related to my real estate channel. Mm-hmm. And then the other is actually digging into the analytics on my channel and seeing which news stories are actually sending viewers to my videos after their story. So if I can kind of piggyback on those specific stories, it will make my channel grow a little bit quicker, but also get some of the views from those news stories that are already out there. So if a local news market is making a real estate related article and they've got a video supplementing it, I will make that same type of video with the similar title, similar framework to get some additional views from that.
Yeah, especially with all the news kind of putting up paywalls and things like that these days. Like, absolutely, people are going to search that title and try and find it around the paywall, and the power of SEO and AEO certainly probably comes into play there. So that's cool. And you focus hyperlocal, or do you do some general national stuff? What's kind of your MO there?
Early on, I was really throwing stuff at the wall and trying different areas to see what videos hit. And until I actually had my current YouTube coach, I was kind of just making videos for areas where I don't even have any viewers. We're talking like 1% or less viewership. So once I dug into my analytics, there's 3 specific areas within 40 minutes of me that are the main chunk of my viewers. So I started at that point making those videos for the market updates, for the news in those 3 areas, and not making specific videos for the other areas that I was previously, and kind of wasting a video. Because if I bring somebody to my channel from one area, if it's a Toronto article, and then I make a outskirts video, I lose them and I don't get them back on my channel, and they might not think that the content there is right for them.
Right. Absolutely. So clearly a pretty dialed in process that wasn't just, a general process that's out there with a lot of the YouTube training and things like that. What would you say agents get wrong when getting into YouTube? What, as you're kind of starting to coach agents and build organizations and things like that, what are some things that you see that agents get wrong typically?
There's a lot of things as agents we get wrong. And I think that's due to the fact that we have that shiny penny syndrome. We always see things like, hey, this person has a certain amount of subscribers or a certain follower count. They must know what they're doing and they must have the best advice that's out there. And unfortunately, it's difficult for us to figure out who's got the paid subscribers, who has the legitimate subscribers, whose videos are actually good quality. But even more importantly, like, your area and my area, 2 different videos are going to perform very differently. I could have 1 million views. You could have 10 views on the same video, right? So understanding your specific audience is extremely important, but then finding somebody who's doing what you want to do that works in your area and having a conversation with them, mimicking stuff that they're doing instead of mimicking somebody who's on the other side of the country. That's what I think we really get locked in, and we're focusing on something like a follower count instead of the actual localization of who's making the content.
Yeah, and I think there's not any different of a bold reference in Sum and Kim, right? Yeah. Having all the new home tours, that obviously works in Austin, Texas. It obviously doesn't work in Toronto, Canada. So,
no, and at the end of the day, maybe it does for some. Right. There are some channels where it might work, but Austin, Texas has got a big relocation, and a lot of people are moving from state to state. And in Canada, we really don't see people move from province to province very often. If you're an hour away from family, that's not normal. In the States, you can be in a different state than another family member, completely normal. Right.
Yeah. Very much cultural based. And I think that's what's cool, because you probably wouldn't be diving full bore into the YouTube stuff if you had to go do a bunch of new home tours, condo tours up there in Canada. I know the condos in Toronto are a mess right now, but absolutely. That's a really good insight. So as you've transitioned over to the Wolfpack, EXP, Carbon Collective, kind of what was the reason for the change, right? You're steady, you're crushing business, you're doing your coaching, you're getting everything kind of from where you need. What was the reason to move over and call your old Tom Ferry coaching buddy, Kyle Mark?
Funny enough, ask Kyle Mark how he ended up with the Wolfpack in the first place. It was yours truly, funny enough. I sent him there, and God, it took me another 5 years to follow him. But the funny thing is, I had been with my brokerage I started with for 10 years, and the end of July was my 10 years with them. And they actually got shut down by our local real estate board in the middle of August. And we were given 48 hours to choose where we wanted our license to go. Most people would not be as prepared as I was, and I knew exactly what I was going to do when that time came. But it was kind of the moment where the opportunity was there for me to say, okay, I've got no more excuses as to why I shouldn't go to EXP, to the Wolfpack, to Carbon Collective, and use that opportunity to grow my business a little bit further. I've been teaching people on the side. It would make way more sense to do all of that within the same brokerage and not charge them a penny more and offer all the stuff and all the knowledge that I've got over the last 10 years. So it made a ton of sense for me to get in there. And then I've got kids. We've talked about it. I want the option for there to be more than just my yearly income that's coming in, and something that I can maybe leave them with if there is the option for them to want to get into real estate as they get older as well. And the revenue share piece is something that I haven't dabbled in just yet, but I think it's something that offers a ton of opportunity for any agent who wants that. And if not, you're still going to get some amazing tools, and you get all the support that you're not really going to get at most other brokerages, which is impressive. I've been very impressed with the cloud-based brokerage and how the setup was, how the system was just getting locked in here. Very shocked at how seamless the process is, considering, people are concerned there's no office. Right. It's the last thing to be concerned about, funny enough.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I noticed originally, right? The collaboration, the connection, all of that. Now we have co-sponsorship, the ability to, be coached, obviously between Mike and I, completely separate kind of coaching strategies, and the way we built our business. We've tried a lot of different things, from even Tom Ferry to Brian Buffini, kind of being polar opposites. The ability for one agent to come in and have access to both of us is absolutely incredible through co-sponsorship. So if you're interested in that, comment co-sponsorship below, or book a call on REagent, wolfpack.com, and definitely mention the Mike Carpino interview, and we'll get you connected between both of us. So you kind of touched on that piece and having that push. So when you're talking about coaching people outside and doing that, if an agent plateaued, burned out, or questioned if they, should continue, what is your one piece of advice, and how do you kind of pull them along and get them to reframe their perspective a little bit?
When I come across this with newer agents, or any agent, even a seasoned agent, I think we have our focus split in too many areas. We really need to just decide on what is that one thing that is going to move the needle forward in our business, and what's that most important thing. So if we can tackle that first and not get so scatterbrained and focused on the other little things like ordering a yearly calendar or going to put a sign on the line, then you're going to have a lot more success, and you're not going to distract yourself from the actual goal, which is doing business and helping people buy and sell homes.
Yeah, absolutely. That shiny object, getting your pillars, dialing that in, especially within a collaborative community with full of education and 10 calls a week and all of that, it's really easy to like have all these things and shift your focus. The thing is that it's all fairly similar once we get to that conversion phase, right, of a lead and a conversation. So if you like something that someone does on open houses, but you don't do open houses and you do YouTube leads, like you can totally incorporate that little script or, that strategy into a different platform. And I think instead of doing that and taking little pieces and building our pillars, we pillar hop, right? And we're growing that. So talk a little bit about that. And as we kind of close out here with how you've incorporated other things into your YouTube strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I have decided that YouTube is going to be the foundation of my business. I do have about 80% of my business come in from Sphere and repeat referral clientele. I want the remaining balance of all my business to come in through YouTube. Mm-hmm. And the other ways that I'm kind of getting people to reach out or providing them value within my videos is if I'm adding blog posts or PDFs, additional assets to the actual video that I'm offering them for free in my descriptions, pop-ups throughout the videos. So for every video I make, you'll notice there is something linked in the actual description box or in the pinned comment for them. That could be something as simple as a free list of homes under a certain value. It could be a full guide for a buyer or a seller. It could be my opinion on something specific that I do not have a video out there for. So I'm just offering a lot more value and I'm not blocking them. These are, you click, you get. I don't want your email. I don't want your information. And the more and more you're able to give people things for free, they are going to want to reach out to you when the time is right. In our business, we get a lot of the gatekeep with an email, get your first, last name, email, give us all the info, and then we'll give you the free PDF. I think sometimes that works. And other times just giving the value over and over and over again, as the Alex Hormozi would do. It's just the way you're going to get people who trust you a lot more and are willing to call you when they want to make a huge decision, like buying their first home or selling their family home.
Yeah, that's good insight, right? Because we have the lead magnet kind of terminology, and that always comes with capturing their data. You give me this, I'll give you that, which struggles to build trust. So absolutely incredible stuff. Obviously, first, let's talk about where people can check out your YouTube channel. Let's not get too crazy on that, agents, because we want to keep that algorithm flowing. But where can agents connect with you based on, just getting some of the sauce that you just dropped, because absolutely incredible to hear the different strategy and your willingness to, change and go from there.
Yeah, they can check any of my socials at Mike Carpino Real Estate. They can also send me an email at mike@teamcarpino.com. I'm happy to talk about their YouTube strategy, what's working for them, what's not working for them. And I'm happy to kind of build out a strategy for them. That's something that if you drop a comment in the video below, we'll connect with you and help you out there. But at the end of the day, make sure if you are making these videos, have the timeline in your head that it's got to be long-term, right? You're not going to dabble in something, just set a long-term horizon on it, and it will eventually work if you have the strategy.
There you go. Free YouTube strategy. Comment below or check out the links below, and we'll make sure that you can get in touch with Mike. Mike, dude, thanks so much for coming on. Absolutely incredible. Keep crushing it up there, and can't wait to continue collaborating within Carbon Collective with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.